Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 53, Font versus Vera. First thing first, again, we always go over a little review. We did have a lock lose last week in Clay Guida. I haven't had a lock lose in a while. Didn't feel confident going in it. Didn't have a ton of locks I like this week. Honestly, don't have a ton I like this week. I have like two or three that I feel fairly confident in. Otherwise, this one's kind of dog city, in all honesty. It's a pretty greasy card. And we had we definitely had some dogs come through last week, though. So, I mean, all in all, it was a kind of a wash week. And it didn't get killed, but didn't really make any money. Just kind of gained everything back that I lost. It was kind of a weird week. We're looking to do a little better here. This is definitely one, again, as we talk about having like titles for the cards. This one is UFC Vegas 53's slip and slide, because this shit is gonna be greasy. So be ready for this card. Just not high level, but it's not bottom of the barrel like last week. A lot of these people making their debuts and or they've had one or two fights in the UFC. More of a prove it spot. And instead of having like a veteran against a young gun, you have a lot of young people going against each other, seeing which one the UFC wants to push. So, all in all, don't let the no name value fool you. It's actually a pretty decent card. I wouldn't say good, but entertaining. Probably a lot of finishes this week, and a lot of dogs will be barking. So, and I'm not just going to sit here and talk about it. We're going to be about it and jump into the very first fight of the night. We're also look at it on ESPN, look a little different here, try it out, opposed to going to the normal Tapology. I did forget a lot of the notes, basically all of them, just solely on the fact that I left them at work. But in retrospect, I mean, we do our knowledge, we do the fight tape, we know these fighters, so just the actual like over unders, we'll tweet it out. So make sure you give the follow over on Instagram, over on Twitter, over on TikTok. Give it a follow and you can see the actual over unders that we like there. Otherwise, let's go ahead and start with the very first fight of the night. We're looking at Tatsuro Taira going up against Carlos Candelario. Pretty interesting fight here. We have the debuting Tatsuro at minus 240. I'll come back on Carlos at plus 200. Let's start with Tatsuro. He's pretty interesting, in all honesty. He's only 22 years old, fighting at a very, very low level over in the Japanese regional scene. So the pros are his jiu-jitsu is out of this world. It's very, very good. I think on paper he's only like a purple or brown belt, but he's one of these guys that are scary when they get your back. His wrestling, in all, is okay. It's not the greatest. And then his striking is, I wouldn't say non-existent. All he has is he loves leg kicks. He has a very heavy front leg kick. And then he also has a very, very heavy right hand that he tosses. And those are his only two weapons on the feet. He throws a leg kick or he's going to throw this overhand right. That's all he has, in all honesty. And part of that is him being 22. I mean, he's a bright prospect. I understand he's undefeated. He's a killer over in Japan, but it's a lot different in the UFC with the big boys. On the bright side for him, he's fighting Carlos Candelario, who's making his UFC debut off of the Contender Series. He's an interesting case. He overall has a Golden Glove background, so his striking's decent. It's predominantly boxing. So it'll be interesting to see Tatsuro's leg kicks against Carlos's boxing. But on the feet, I will give Carlos the striking edge. When it comes to the wrestling, again, Tatsuro gets a lot of takedowns against lower level guys, but it's all upper body. And I didn't really see him shoot much. He kind of has the same upper body takedown over and over. Carlos's takedown defense on paper is only showing at like 60% with his two Contender Series fights. But his wrestling is not bad. His offensive wrestling is very good. His defensive wrestling is the one in question. But again, Tatsuro, not the greatest wrestler in the world. When it comes to the ground game, Carlos is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so he won't be a fish out of water against Tyra like some of the other people that he had fought earlier. So all in all, you have two prospects going at it. One a 22-year-old prospect, one a 30-year-old prospect that was supposed to be very good, retired for 4 years and came back. I don't know, man. It's a really tricky fight. You'll remember Carlos as the guy that lost on the Contender Series, but still got a contract. That's very rare. I don't think it's ever happened outside of him. I thought he got robbed that decision. Everyone did, even Dana did, hence him giving a contract. So all in all, you're probably looking at a 9-0 versus a 10-0. I don't know. It's a pick 'em in all honesty. And when you see minus 240 on one side and plus 200 on the other on a pick 'em fight, you have to take the dog here. So we're going to start the night with the dog playing Carlos Candelario plus 200. It's an all value play. And again, I have like 7 or 8 dogs on a 12 fight card. Like some of these are going to hit. So the bet would be Carlos. The pick, honestly, I'm going to take the 30-year-old man over the 22-year-old kid. As neither one are unproven, give me the veteran in that case. So pick is Carlos. The bet is going to be Carlos. Next fight of the night, we are looking at Shayna Young going up against Gina Mazzani. Gina is a minus 180 favorite. Come back on Shayna plus 155. That's disgusting. The reason it's gross is because of both of these women, in all honesty. Gina Mazzani, she's a good wrestler. I remember her having really sloppy takedowns, but when I went back and did the fight tape, her takedowns aren't bad. She's actually a decent wrestler. It's just she gasses. I've never seen a women fighter gas so hard. Well, I guess Estela Nunez gasses pretty hard. I learned that lesson against Sam Hughes. But Gina is notorious for gassing and notorious for quitting. She has a okay ground game. I mean, she just has really good top control, and she has good wrestling. She'll get you there, and she takes you down. She averages like 4 takedowns a fight, so she will continually shoot takedowns until she gets you down. There it is, 4.7 takedown average. But that's all she has, man. She has absolutely nothing on the feet. She's at Glory MMA, which I think is a fraud. I like James Krause all in all. I think he's a good coach. He's kind of like a player's coach. He's someone that kind of fights, kind of mostly just coaches. But the fighters at Glory MMA are in a little bit of a slump here. No one's really talking about it because everyone loves James Krause, and that's nothing against him. He's just notorious for taking bad fighters and molding them into pretty decent ones. And sometimes they're just too bad to mold. It's not James's fault, but I think Gina kind of falls in this category. I mean, Glory MMA has been losing a ton, and like Kevin Kroom are some of the first names that come to mind. Derek Minner, they're kind of on a losing streak, in all honesty. I don't know if Gina's going to be the one to turn it around. She will have a 3-inch reach advantage, which I like. But again, if you punch her in the face, she quits. You can't bet on someone that quits, and you can't bet on someone with a bad gas tank. But you also can't bet on Shayna Young. Shayna Young has kind of like a Steven Wonderboy karate style. So she's pretty decent on the feet, but she doesn't really carry a lot of power. Her wrestling is awful. Her get-up game is awful, and her jiu-jitsu is awful. So on the feet, Shayna Young will have an advantage. Don't get me wrong. Gina Mazzani will take her down. At this point, you're betting gas tank. Shayna Young is durable. She does have a gas tank. It's just if you take her down, there's no urgency. She needs to just pop right back up. And those are the girls that beat Gina. So take you down. But it takes a lot of energy to do so. If you can pop back up and make her continually do it, she will gas. All you have to do is punch her once in the face and she'll just fold over and say no mas. I just don't think Shayna Young is that girl. But there's absolutely no way I'm betting Gina Mazzani at minus 180. That's the grossest thing I've ever seen. So at this point, this is going to be one of those value plays where the pick is going to be Gina Mazzani, but the bet would be the plus 155 on Shayna Young. I was staying away from it at first when it was like plus 115, but now that it's up at plus 155, I might have to unfortunately take the shot, even though I think she sucks and she's going to lose. She doesn't even have a camp. Like the camp she was at this just disbanded, kind of like how Jackson Wink had like 2 guys stay and everyone else left. That's what just happened to her camp in Tennessee. So, God, she has no training camp. She has no bodies. She has no takedown defense going against a wrestler. God, she shouldn't win this fight, but I can't trust Gina's gas tank. So the pick is Gina, but the bet, unfortunately, at this value would be Shayna Young. I'm not telling you to bet it. I'm just telling you where the value is. Next fight of the night, we have Natan Levy at 6-1 going up against Mike Breeden, 10-4. Over, we have minus 200 for Natan Levy and plus 170, the comeback from Mike Breeden. Mike Breeden's another Glory MMA guy. He's not very good. His stand-up's pretty decent, but he has a few. You can finish this guy. Like his first fight in the UFC was short notice, so I'll give him a little bit of slack against Alexander Hernandez. Alexander the Great isn't the best fighter, but he will come out and smoke you if you're not UFC level. And he came out and he beat Mike Breeden in like a minute and 30 seconds. It was not long. I want to say it was under 90 seconds. So that was not a good look. All in all, he's predominantly a striker, and he did show some urgency when he got taken down. I watched his Contender Series fight. He got taken down a plethora of times, but he popped up. So if you're not able to hold him down, he's not terrible on the feet, in all honesty. It's just you can also put him out, and he's one-dimensional. He's not going to try to take you down. He's not going to try to tap you out. He just wants to beat you up on the feet. Natan Levy is someone that I thought was a wrestler grappler until I actually went back and did research, and he's not. He's not at all. His background's actually in karate, which is so odd because karate fighters you think of like Leona Machida or Bruno Souza or someone that, you know, you kind of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, they're very hard to hit, kick a ton. Levy is a karate style fighter, has that stance, but he likes to throw hands and he gets hit a shit ton. This dude is very, very hittable. So I was flabbergasted when they said he was a striker. God, I mean, he's jacked. He hits hard, but you can hit him a ton. The good news is his chin seems to hold up thus far. He's 6-1. His one loss coming in his last fight against Rafa Garcia. And Rafa's not bad. And Levy did kind of piece him up on the feet a little when they were at range. But the moment Rafa closed the range, he just had a field day with Levy. And when it came to the wrestling, Rafa took him down 7 times. Luckily, that's not something he has to worry about here against Mike Breeden. Mike Breeden's not going to probably ever shoot a takedown in the UFC unless he's rocked. And Levy's wrestling was sneaky good for a karate style fighter. His wrestling good and his jiu-jitsu is good. So if he wants to, he can take Mike Breeden down. On the feet, I think it's 50-50, and Levy could win just keeping it on the feet. But I'd probably give a slight lean to Breeden. When it comes to the ground game and wrestling, that's all Levy. So if he wants to keep him busy on the feet and then randomly take him down, it's a pretty easy route to a victory for Natan Levy. May even be able to get the finish. I don't know if he'll be able to hold him down. But his gas tank, again, in the last one, he did slow down a ton against Rafa Garcia. But that was a lot of wrestling. I mean, between the two of them, there were 10 takedowns completed. So that's a lot of wrestling. That'll wear anyone out. There will be no wrestling with Mike Breeden unless Levy decides to initiate. So the pick is going to be Levy. The bet is going to be Natan Levy and some parlays. It's a little greasy. It's not a favorite lock of the night type ordeal, but compared to some of these others, it's one of the safer picks, I would say. One pick that is not safe at all. Gabe Green, minus 135, going up against Johan Linus at plus 115. Gabe Green, I should say, Johan is not good. He actually kind of sucks. He hits like a truck. This is one of the heaviest hitters in the welterweight division. I know it's his MMA debut. It's a Contender Series fade, which you love to do. But again, the Contender Series fade is when they're the favorite. He is a dog at plus 115, and he should be. Again, he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is nice. He will definitely have a power advantage. Grappling, he might. Honestly, he shoots pretty good takedowns and apparently is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he loves to knock you out. He hits hard, people. If he touches you, you go out, period. And he's kind of falling in love with that power. He's very hittable himself. He will let you beat the shit out of him as long as he can crack you with one, because that's all it's going to take, because that's how you hear thuds when this dude hits you. He hits hard, but he's not good. There's no technique to anything he does. He's just a wild man relying on brute strength, and that is going to get you caught. That is going to get you a lot of L's in the UFC. I don't think he's good. He is someone that I've been waiting to hit the main roster so that I could fade. I do think Gabe Green is the better fighter here. I would pick him to win, but I have money on Johan Lenise. And let me tell you why. Gabe Green by far is the better fighter here, but he has a 3-inch reach disadvantage, and he has 2 knockout losses on his record. And one of them is a Jalen Turner, who is in the UFC, now fighting at lightweight. If a lightweight currently can knock you out, I am very concerned about one of the hardest hitters at welterweight. And the main thing that concerns me is Gabe Green has the better striking, but he is hittable. Daniel, I mean, God, this dude, I'm looking at here, almost 7 significant strikes absorbed. Where's that landed? I don't know how it works on the ESPN one, in all honesty. But at the end of the day, I remember looking at it on Tapology and looking over on the sites that I use. He gets hit a lot more than he dishes out. He will let you pop him 3 times so he can land 1, but he doesn't have any game-changing power. Johan is going to literally let him hit him so that he can do it, and Gabe's going to try to do the same. And if you're both just hitting each other as hard as you can, Gabe, you're going out, buddy. I think he is the better striker. I think his takedown defense is pretty good, even though Johan has pretty good wrestling offense. Gabe Green is just as technical on the ground. He should be fine everywhere. He just narrows Johan out everywhere in the cage, except for that power disparity. And I can't trust someone at minus 135 who gets hit all of the time going up against someone at plus money that hits like a truck. Give me Johan. I cannot wait to fade this guy, but this isn't the spot. So the pick is Johan. The bet is going to be the pick is Gabe, but the bet is Johan, and I have money on it myself. Also, not to kind of go all the way back, but the very first fight of the night, Tatsu Taira, I would consider him a Japanese Paddy Pimblett. He has a big regional scene hype. He has a great ground game, but he can't wrestle and he can't really strike. He just has 2 weapons on the feet. Paddy was able to pass his test against Luigi, but he got dropped first. And Carlos is Luigi 2.0, where he can do everything well. So I bet Luigi that night as a dog, and I will bet Carlos as a dog again. Just an FYI, it's eerily reminiscent to Paddy Pimblett's debut. And we were on the right side. He rocked him, and then he got caught. I don't think that Tato is going to be able to catch him the way Paddy caught Luigi. Anyway, just forgot to mention that. We're moving on to, because that's a fight I care about at flyweight. This fight I don't care about as much at flyweight, with mini Figgy Francisco Figueroa going up against Daniel Lacerda, aka Daniel Da Silva. He has like 3 different names, so I don't know which one to go off of. UFC is going Lacerda, so let's go with that. Speaking of the devil, he will have a 2-inch reach advantage. And this guy's talking about people that hit hard. Out of his 11 wins, I think they've all finished in the first round. Like, he does not fight long. He is a flyweight Terrence McKinney. Like, this dude, literally everything he does is with explosion. He has good wrestling, uses a ton of energy. He has good striking, hits like a truck, uses a ton of energy, and he would just fall off a cliff. So he's got to get it. He's got to put you away in the first round, or he's in a little bit of trouble. All in all, great ground game he showed off against Jeff Molina. That was a war. It only lasted like 40 seconds in the round too, but it was a war as much as as long as it lasted. Showed a good ground game there, showed good wrestling, ragdolling Molina in the beginning, and I know he has good striking with all the head kick knockouts on his record. So all in all, very fast twitch, explosive guy that is very, very good. Just 25 years old, a little green, and he acts it the way he fights. Francisco sucks. He's not good. He's going to have a disadvantage with the reach. Technically, you could say he's a striker. His nickname is the Sniper. So, I mean, he would like to stay up and strike. That, again, that doesn't mean he's any good at it. He's very, very low volume, like very concerning low volume. And especially going up in flyweight, that is not something you want at all in a flyweight. So, I don't know. He's very, very concerning to me, just because I usually like to fade gas tanks, but I'm not fading a gas tank here. I'm actually more or less going to go ahead and just hope that he's able to do what he generally does in Alex De Silva. Um, just because, I mean, Mini Figgy almost lost a split decision to what's his name, Jerome Rivera. That's concerning to me. You can't get very, very close fights with Jerome Rivera, with God, Malcolm Gordon is a guy he just lost to in his last fight. Those aren't high level. That's the bottom of the barrel at 25. Daniel Lacerda is unproven. He's fought absolutely nobody outside of Jeff Molina, and he got killed after 3 minutes. But he gassed himself out. Figgy does not have a good gas tank either. So I can see Daniel winning at least 2 rounds and then just hang on because Francisco is such low volume. He's not going to 10-8 anybody with how little he throws. So as long as Daniel's 10 minutes cardio and can survive, I'm going to pick him. Again, minus 125 plus 105. It's damn near a pick 'em. So just give me the favorite who's better. And we're just really betting gas tanks here. I'm hoping he has at least 10 minutes in him at flyweight. Come on, buddy. So the pick is going to be Daniel. The bet's going to be Daniel. Zero confidence in it. But if you want a confidence pick, you have Alexander Romanoff at minus 2,000 going up against Chase Sherman at plus 1,000. Not a lot to talk about on this fight because we talked about it we talked about it last week. Chase Sherman was not able to compete last week, so they rebooked it for this week. He has a puncher's chance. He has 2 minutes of cardio. He hits decently hard, not like he doesn't have a ton of first round finishes. He hits decently hard. That's all he has. He has no ground game, no wrestling, no volume. Gets hit more than he dishes out. Alexander Romanoff is someone who is a phenomenal wrestler, good on the ground, great ground and pound. They call him King Kong. He gets on top of you and he just uses like both hands to hammer fist you as if he was King Kong. Has a lot of submission wins on his record as well. His striking a work in progress, but not terrible in all honesty. He'll throw some wild flying knees and spinning back kicks just because he's so big. And he has usually great cardio. I know the cardio did not look good against Juan Espino. That was a ton of wrestling for heavyweights. And let's not act like Romanoff was the only one gassed. Juan was also gassed. But Romanoff killed him in the first round. And oh my God, Chase Sherman got taken down and tapped out by Jake Collier. What the hell is Alexander going to do? He's minus 2,000 for a reason. Let's not waste any time or bets or money on him because there's no return to it at minus 2,000. So the pick is Alexander. The bet, you have to play the prop game or you have to look at the under. Those are the only routes. I think the under is just about a lock. And Alexander came in last week at 240 pounds. He usually weighs in at the 265 limit. He came in with abs. So this guy was scary before. Now he's like title challenger scary. So the pick is Alexander. The bet 110% Alexander, but you have to take him like in round one probably in order to get any sort of value. I think him inside the distance is still like minus 800. So take Alexander to win in round one. All right. Next fight we have Gerald Meerschaert at plus 145 going against Christoph Jaka at minus 170. Let's just start with Gerald Meerschaert. I think he sucks. He does not have good stand-up. He has the most wins in middleweight history at UFC by submission, but his submissions are kind of sketchy in all honesty. All he does is the Kennedy and Njoku rope-a-dope strategy. Instead of letting you beat the shit out of him and then knocking you out in the third, what he does is you beat the shit out of him and then you gas out and he taps you out in the third. But the same exact premise here. I don't think it's going to work here. Gerald did it to Deron Wynn, who is notoriously bad cardio. He did it to Trevin Giles, who is notoriously bad cardio. He did it to Dustin Stofus, whose cardio is okay, I guess. He did it to Meredith, where you just saw him beat the shit out of him, almost had the fight stopped, gas out, and Meerschaert slaps on a submission. That is what he does. Jocko does not gas out. He actually has decently good cardio. His striking is okay, but it's not good. His ground game is okay, but it's not good. His wrestling is okay, but it's not good. He is the if I had generalists and I could put anyone's picture next to it, it is Krzysztof Jotko. He is not good at anything. He's not bad at anything. His cardio checks out. He's just kind of there. Gerald Meerschaert's the type of guy he beats because he does have better wrestling. His is just okay, but Gerald's is awful. Jotko does his better striking. It's just okay, but Gerald's is awful. And at the end of the day, the ground game, Gerald's is better, but he can't get it there if he can't wrestle. Jotko, generally, the biggest issue he has is his volume, but Gerald also does not throw. So you have two guys where they don't throw any volume, but the other one can dictate where the fight goes. Give me that guy, especially at minus 170. So the pick is going to be Jotko. The bet is going to be Jotko. I might sadly have to lock this in as one of the lock of the nights because slim pickings here, especially looking at the next fight. I have yet another dog. I have Darren Elkins minus 175 going up against Tristan Connolly at plus 150. I'll be honest with you. That plus 150 isn't floating around there anymore. I just bet it yesterday at like plus 105, and everyone's on Tristan Connolly. Connolly can have a 3-inch reach disadvantage here. When it comes to the striking, I think it's a wash. I think it's the exact same thing. When it comes to the wrestling, I think it's a wash. I think it's the exact same thing. When it comes to the ground game, Connolly actually has the upper edge here. You'll remember him for beating Michelle Pereira, but Michelle didn't lose. Connolly didn't win. Michelle beat himself by dancing to the octagon so crazy, and he wound up gassing out in like 4 minutes, and that's all Michelle's fault. And then Connolly just is a professional and did what he had to do. Again, his striking, I didn't see a lot of on the tape. A lot of wrestling here, very heavily wrestling oriented, but he's good at wrestling. He was fairly fine. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And the way I look at it, he had Pat Sabatini hanging on his back for 15 minutes and didn't get tapped out. I don't think Darren Elkins is going to tap him out. And it's a lot harder to get back up with Pat Sabatini. Darren Elkins he'll take you down quite often, but and his gas tank's okay, but he's 38 now. I mean, and I know, or about to be, and I know Connolly's 36, so he's no spring chicken. But if everything's a wash and there's plus money on his side, give me Tristan. Darren, I mean, again, he's almost 38. He can't strike. He can wrestle. He's not going to tap anyone out or finish you. So I don't hate the over here, but Darren just got put out by Cub Swanson pretty easily and pretty quickly. His nickname is The Damage. He tries to do the rope and dope. That's what he used to do, but it's not working anymore. The older he gets, the harder it is to complete the second part of the rope and dope where he actually come back and win. He's struggling with that. Again, he just, okay, everything cancels out, so I'm going to take the plus money. So the pick is Tristan. The bet, honestly, I have a bet on him, and it's Tristan. Next fight of the night, we had Jared Gordon at plus 155 going up against Grant Dawson at minus 180. God, this is a weird fight, too. This is another one where I feel like I should bet Jared Gordon, but there's something stopping me. Grant's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. This is going to be his first fight at ATT. He did officially leave Glory MMA. He said he was a big fish in a little pond, and I believe him. David Onama also has to get out of there. Again, nothing against James Krause. He does a great job, but not a lot of good training partners there, just to be honest. And Grant, someone that used to fight at 145. Now he's up at 155, and he looks a lot better here. Same with Jared Gordon. I've seen him try to make 45, miss weight a ton of times. He looks fine at 55. Grant, everyone's going to look to his last fight against Ricky Glenn. Dominated the first two, gassed out, and got 10-8'd in the third, causing a draw. You know, Rick Glenn probably would have lost that fight. Ricky Glenn, undefeated. He's nasty. He's never lost as Ricky, and Grant tasted the wrath of Ricky Glenn. But in all seriousness, he has a good ground game. He has great wrestling. Striking sucks. Non-existent. Jared Gordon will piece him up on the feet. I definitely give a striking edge to Jared Gordon. When it comes to wrestling, he only has a 52% takedown defense. And Grant is coming to take you down. And you know it, he knows it, and he still gets the job done. So that's very concerning. When it comes to the ground game, Jared Gordon is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I don't think that Grant is going to be able to tap him out. So we are looking at how long can Grant hold him down? How many times can Grant take him down? And I think Grant can do it repeatedly. Jared Gordon is not someone that has some crazy knockout power, so I don't see him putting Grant away. So at that juncture, eventually Grant's going to get a hold of him, take him down, and hold him. He's probably going to lose the third round. I don't think cardio is a major issue. It generally isn't. I don't know if it's the move to 155 that it caused at his last fight, but I know Jared Gordon just pushes a pace and makes everyone tired. So Grant will look tired in the third here. He'll probably bank the first, and the second is going to be where this fight is decided. So I do like the decision here. I like that Gordon is plus 155. But that line is moving. I don't think he's plus 155 anymore, is he? Grant minus 180. Ugh. The pick is Grant. It's just a matter if I want to take another dog shot on Gordon. There's something stopping me, and I'm going to listen to it this time. So the pick is Grant. The bet is going to be Grant as well. I think Jordan's a really good fighter. He has good striking, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, okay wrestling, offensive, defensive, again, 50%, not the greatest. But Grant's wrestling is very, very good, and I think he's good enough to hold his position over submission. So when he takes Gordon down, he's not going to take him down to try to tap him out. He's holding him down to win a fight and get paid. He's just going to try to hold him. So pick is Grant, bet is Grant. All right. Next fight of the night, we have Joe Anderson Brito at plus 180 going up against Andre Fili at minus 220. God, this is a weird fight because I think Brito is good. He's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage here. His wrestling's okay. His striking is all right, but he hits very hard. And his ground game is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. All in all, his cardio is a little shaky, but it's better than I thought it would be. He comes out uber aggressive in that first round. He slows down a ton, but he has so much heart that he's not just going to go out there and gas out and quit. So it's very, very difficult to put this guy away. And it's easy for him to put you away in the first. So you have to mind your P's and Q's. All in all, kind of like that shoot-a-box Brazilian berserker style, but he hits so hard that you go out if he touches you. And if he can't touch you, he will take you down. And it's all explosion, and that kind of dipping into his cardio. But all in all, you have to pick the right level of people, and he will win. He's pretty decent. He is UFC caliber, but once he hits like the top 20 is when he'll start struggling. And Andre Fili is right there. Andre Fili will have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Sneaky good wrestling, not that bad. And the Bryce Mitchell fight skews things a little. I thought watching the Bryce Mitchell fight back that he had very good takedown defense. Yes, he officially got taken down like 4 times, but the urgency to get back up and the amount of shots he stuffed before the takedown, like Bryce Mitchell was chain wrestling in order to get Andre Fili down. We saw Bryce take down Edson Barbosa pretty easily recently. So Andre Fili made him work, and he gassed out Bryce. And Bryce usually has a pretty good gas tank. Andre was fresh, ready to go still. He could have won another 2 rounds if it was 5-rounders. So Andre has good cardio. He is going to have a striking advantage here. He's very difficult to knock out. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. My issue is he's been bullied by people like Sadiq Youssef. Joe Anderson Brito can come in and do the exact same thing. But that last fight against Daniel Pineda just showed that Andre might have leveled up. I don't know if that was an anomaly or if that's new Andre. I'm not going to go against that Andre if that's the new Andre. So the pick is going to be Fili. The bet would be Fili as well. I don't think the line is correct. I don't think he should be a minus 250, minus 220 favorite. I think he should be more in the minus 140, minus 150 range. I don't like the price. I understand the shot on Joe Anderson, but I think it's still in the early lower minus 200, so I'll still take Fili and bet it. All right. Then we have our co-main event of the evening. We have Andrei Arlovski at 33-20 as a minus 150 favorite against Jake Collier at plus 125. That line has changed as well. I am hovering over that Jake Collier button at plus 105, but I'm unable to do so, mainly because he's not a heavyweight. He is a middleweight. He'll have an inch reach advantage here, which is interesting, but he is not a heavyweight. Believe me, he fought at middleweight in the UFC, took a few years off, came back as a heavyweight, and has fought some middling competition. I mean, yes, he beat Carlos Felipe and Vic Diaz, or sorry, he fought him, lost a split. Yes, he beat Chase Sherman, but that's not that difficult, especially with him getting Chase Sherman's back. I mean, that's just an instant win. Um, God, who else? He lost to Tom Aspinall, and no one really that was just a show up fight to prove that he actually is a heavyweight. And Tom starched him, and he should. Otherwise, man, he beat John Vellante. That's not the best heavyweight win either, but it's the volume, man. This guy's throwing 120 strikes. What is it, like 125 against John Vellante, 130 against Carlos Felipe? Like, this dude is known for volume. Andre Arlovsky is not. At this rate, Jake probably isn't going to shoot a takedown. He's probably not going to get anything going on the ground against Andre. It's really just going to be a stand-up war. You're looking at quantity versus quality. Andre keeps getting in these wars. He keeps getting the nods. But one of these times, man, I mean, the last fight against Jared Vanderaa, he got pushed back and Jared outlanded him, but Andre got the win. His fight before that against he fought Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman's an easy win, but Chase won the first round. Andre had to come back and win 2 and 3. His fight against Tanner Boser, I had money on Boser. I thought he won. It was volume versus quantity. He beat the shit out of him. But when it's a close fight, and well, he had the big moment, they give it to Andre the vet. And here, eventually, his luck is going to run out. If you're giving me plus money on the other side against someone that always throws 130, Andre, the most he'll throw is like 80. So he's going to get doubled up, or like 50 more significant straights for Jake. I'm going to go to the well again and bet Jake. I'll also pick him to win, but be weary because Andre just keeps getting these splits. I might honestly bet Jake Collier by split decision and try to bank it. Because this probably goes to a split, and that's probably how he wins. He's not going to knock out Andre. Andre could potentially knock Jake out because he is a little chinny at heavyweight, but Andre hasn't knocked anyone out since like Travis Brown, so I'm not expecting it now. So the pick is going to be Jake. Bet's going to be Jake at plus money. And that takes us to our main event. Again, make sure you give a like over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We will tweet the official picks tomorrow. And then if any changes happen after the weigh-ins, you'll be the first to know. But when it comes to the main event, this is when I've been going back and forth, just flip-flopping every day of the week. Rob Font minus 130, Marlon Vera plus 110. Let's start with Rob. Rob is very good striking, probably the striking edge here. Talk about Jake Collier's volume. Rob Font has some volume as well, landing like 140 against Aldo and 130, 140 against Cody Garbrandt. He lands a shit ton. I know he knocked out Marlon Moraes, but everyone does at this point. So his power isn't really where it needs to be. He's another one of these where it's quality versus quantity. His wrestling isn't the greatest. He has like 50% takedown defense, so you can take him down. His jiu-jitsu is okay. Marlon Vera definitely has a jiu-jitsu edge, but with the wrestling, I think it's a 50-50 wash. And Rob seems to mix in the wrestling a little more than Marlon. Marlon fell in love with the striking, and he is good at it. He's not a potent puncher, though. He's not just some huge, big power puncher out of nowhere. He's okay, and he's never won a first round. That's something that usually concerns me because there's usually 3 rounds. This is his first ever 5-round fight, and he's fought people like Guido Canelli. He's fought people like 40-year-old Frankie Yeager. He fought Jose. He fought Song Yadong. This dude has never won a first round. He is a notoriously slow starter. So everyone kept begging for him to be in a 5-rounder so we could see what it's like when he starts picking up the pace. Well, Rob doesn't get tired. So I don't know if that's going to help him as much as we would hope. But all in all, Marlon is someone that I've disrespected during this run. He just continually keeps winning. I bet Davey Grant against him. I bet Frankie against him. And I'm like, I'm betting lower level guys against Marlon. I don't know why. He's not bad. Why am I trying to fade Marlon? And I think I'm going to do it again. I think I have Rob here. It's just, and you have 2 guys on the feet. It's a very close fight, but one lands a lot more, and Marlon doesn't necessarily have that fight-ending one-hitter quitter. I don't think he's going to have as big a moments as Aldo did against Font. I don't think he's going to utilize the wrestling. in his ground game, if there's no wrestling, I doubt he's going to be able to utilize that. And it's not as a fish out of water on the ground. He knows what's happening. I just give a slight edge to Marlon, but on the feet, I'm giving a slight edge to Font. I think this is where it's going to take place. So the pick is going to be Font, and at minus 130, I'll definitely throw him in a ton of parlays. If it's still alive, it's not a super good hedge spot, it only being plus 110 with Marlon Vera. But it still has the plus sign next to it. So the bet is Font, ton of parlays, almost every single one. And then I'll just max bet Vera if need be. And that's UFC Vegas 53. Again, we tried doing it with the ESPN app. I'll probably go back to Tapology next week. All in all, make sure you give everything a like, the video like, a follow, and make sure that we're able to, with us setting the picks tomorrow and adjusting on Friday if need be, make sure you're paying attention to social media and make sure you get paid. We had the draft Thursday and Friday and Saturday. That'll lead you right into the fights. There's like a PFL card. There's a lot going on this weekend, a lot to bet on, NBA playoffs, and a lot of money to be made. So let's get it.